Welcome, Illumineers. It is time to take a rest from your quest and check into the Lore Keeper's Inn. I'm your host, Katie. As some of you may have seen, the past weekend was the D23 Fan Event, which featured Disney in all its forms and flavors. But one of the most exciting parts, obviously, for my listeners, myself, was that Ravensburger was there, and they had a presence for both Disney Lorcana and their new game, Chronicles of Light, which I bought and haven't played yet. So the goal of this episode is to kind of, talk about Lorcana. But there was just so many exciting things going on in the world of Lorcana, from the Learn to Play event that happened before the weekend even kicked off, to even meeting developers, creators, artists, and catching exciting announcements. So to recap the past week of D23, I wanted to bring on two people who also got to join in the magic. I had not met in person before. I'd seen them on the internet. And I was thankful to run into them because they both have a very warm and calming energy. And D23 was very crazy. So they helped bring me peace in the craziness. That was D23. They are the wonderful and talented LorcanaDuo of Monica and Patrick. Welcome.
Hello,
Hi.
everyone.
Thanks, Katie, for hosting us. We're very happy and excited to be here. This is our first podcast. And yeah, coming out of D23, I kind of caught a cold. So apologies, listeners, if my feelings started sounding sort of congested. Monica, you want to take it away from here?
Yeah. No, we basically said everything. I'll try to speak for us throughout the podcast. So hopefully I won't strain his voice too much, but just happy to be here and happy to talk about our experience at D23. It was so nice meeting you in person as well. And a bunch of other content creators at D23. It was definitely an overwhelming event, but definitely looking forward to the next 2 years. At least we have 2 years to the next one.
Yeah, right? I was thinking, if D23 was next year, I don't know if I can do it. The 2 years, maybe that makes sense now, because I'm like, okay, I can rest for 2 years now. And thank you for being a trooper. You're like, I'm feeling sick, but I'll still do it, because I know in the anime convention world, and I think it's like a convention thing all over the place called the con crud. So unfortunately, you've fallen victim, which is very sad. But now I'm scared. I feel like, but happy things. So I mentioned that I got to meet you guys in person, and I also mentioned that Learn to Play event. So it was something where some of my friends were asking, like, what was it? And so for listeners, it was this event that I think was not technically a Disney event. It was more like an event going on where Disney and Lorcana were sponsoring as part of the D23 weekend. And they needed people to teach. And I was lucky because I'm in the area. I was in the area. And you guys, you're local Southern California, not necessarily like Orange County locals, but you're Southern California people, correct?
We live essentially an hour up from Anaheim, so in the San Fernando Valley area, most specifically Northridge. So on the Saturday and Sunday, we did drive down our drive at like 6 a.m. On the Tuesday, though, we got off work a little bit early and drove up, and the traffic was kind of crazy. It took 2 hours to get there for us.
For people who don't live in Southern California is just built different. I looked up on the map and I was 15 minutes away. My hotel was, 15 miles. So in my mind, I'm like, what is that? Like 20 minutes? No, that was a 50-minute journey. So that is crazy. But and one thing I did want to ask, and I didn't get, I usually ask first, but I got so excited about what the week entailed. How did you two get into Lorcana? Are you TCG players, Disney people, a little bit of both?
I think for us, we're mainly Disney people, so we did go to the parks a lot. Growing up in Southern California, families are very into Disney, and so we just grew up surrounded by Disney. But how we got into Lorcana specifically, I think both of us were watching the news come out about the game separately. We didn't even talk to each other about it. He was looking at it from a TCG perspective, and I was looking at it on more of oh, it's like another Disney thing we could do together. And so I think Lorcana is just a great opportunity for us to cross those paths. And then he mentioned it once, I think you were reading an article.
Yeah, it was on a video game website where it was right before when Rise of the Floodborn came out. And the article was titled Disney Lorcana Rise of the Floodborn, set release in 2 weeks. And I was like, Rise of the Floodborn, that sounds so intense. But the poster or the banner that he used was the Christopher Robin art. And I was like, why is Christopher Robin like spearheading this Rise of the Bloodborne event? I was like, this looks crazy to me. So I brought it to Monica. I was like, look at this TCG. Like, why does it sound so intense? And then she went on and took it and ran with it from there.
Yeah, I just had to hear that one little snippet. Like, oh, he's interested into Lorcana. And I'm like, okay, I'll get up right now and buy booster packs. And at that time, I didn't know what that meant necessarily, but I ended up paying 3 times the value, because I think it was during that time, like, the first chapter was super hard to get. But I guess that's kind of how we got into it. And then I saw the Honey Wizard poop at, and I was like, I want this map, but how do I justify getting this map? I was playing the game. And then that's kind of, they just like snowballed into being collectors, players.
Started going to the local game shops. We had no idea how to play, so we literally just sat there and watched people play until they kind of just adopted us into their community. And they started giving us like cards. Like, I've never seen that card before. It was like the one drop Captain Hook. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm here. Have 4 of them. I was like, this is amazing.
And
Yeah, I do think it's very funny how communities, you show up and they're like, oh, you're in now. Like, I know you're just coming to see what it's like, but no, now you're in the club.
Yeah, and I think that's something so different about the Lorcana community. They were just like so ready to like help you like start getting into the game. And I think it was like a full circle effect with like intro game on that Tuesday D23 night, where we were able to see other players and be that person for like new players, so teach them how to play the game and like show them different cards and how that works.
Yes, and that the gateway, I didn't buy it personally because I'm like, I know how to play. But I was so glad we got the chance to do that event, because the gateway product's really good. Like, it was like easy to teach people, because like when you learn to play with a starter deck, it can be kind of overwhelming, because like, first off, knowing what hand to keep is such a crazy hard thing, even as a person that's been playing for a year. So the first thing to know how and what to keep. So I found the gateway super helpful as a teaching tool, and I'm like kind of sad I didn't have it when I was learning, but I'm happy it exists now. Did you guys have fun teaching? I mean, you already said you did have fun, but was that something you enjoyed getting the chance to do?
Yeah. Yep. So I got to teach like a lot of people. I went into the event thinking that it was going to be really chill. I'm going to meet like you and other of the people in the community that got invited to volunteer to help teach people. But it kind of was nonstop. People kept filling up the tables, and I kept having to run back and forth between games and answer questions. But in all, it was a lot of fun, and I really loved seeing the excitement people had whenever they drew a card and they saw it was like one of the characters that they really like, whether it was like Stitch or Maleficent or Elsa. There's this one boy, I think he was about 9 years old, that whenever he drew a Stitch card, he would kind of scream or squeal, and it was so cute.
Yeah.
Even though he knew it was the next card coming, because he played like this Jafar that lets you like the top 2, put one at the top and the bottom. So he played that card, put the Stitch on top, knew he was going to do it the next turn. When his next turn came around, he drew it, and he was like, oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, that's how I am every time I draw a Stitch. It is still as exciting. So no, I loved the age range too, because I taught like a couple who probably were in their 70s, and it's fun because, I mean, I think TCGs generally lean pretty heavy towards the millennial age bracket. So it's fun being like, young people who are not millennials, get in here. That was very, very fun. And
Monica, you made a couple friends or people that you saw at D23.
It was also kind of fun to see. Like, that was like the Tuesday before D23, and majority of the people we were with are attending D23. And so it was nice seeing them in the hustle bustle near like the Ravensburger booth. And so a few of them actually got like starter decks, booster packs, and like, starting to join the community in Lorcana. And it was fun to see them like not knowing the game or how to play the game to lining up like 6 a.m. in the morning for Lorcana, and just like seeing their love for the game grow so fast. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. It catches fast, the passion for it. Like you mentioned that you like went out and bought cards. I did the same thing, and I got a trove, and I was like, it's $100, but that seems fine. And later learned that was not right. But I mean, gosh, once I opened my first pack, I was like, well, I love this. So it's fun to know that it's a common experience, that once you play once, you're like, well, I'm in. And I did see that it's nice that you mentioned that. Yeah, some of the people to learn to play, I saw at the convention. I was like, it's you. And then it was fun because every time someone played Pooh Honey Wizard, I said, just so you know, that's the best card in the game. And they're like, why? And I'm like, well, just look at it. So
It's all you
that's
need
it.
to know.
And and then they saw me and I'm like, see? And so it was a good full circle moment for me to share the good word of Winnie the Pooh.
Your cosplay is really great, by the way. You and your
Thank you.
sister, she was Pooh Pirate Piglet.
Yeah. Piglet Pooh Pirate, which
Yeah.
is such a fun thing to say. Yeah, it was fun. Not the great so I released a YouTube video today and I'm like slowly descending into madness because like it was hot and I was wearing full length polyester robe and everything after 3 p.m. I was doing great, but like the first 4 hours was interesting. So you mentioned that you woke up you got left at 6 a.m. So you probably got there around 7:30. So how long did you end up waiting in the line? So I mean, I guess let me do a little aside for listeners. So the California was like the last time zone to get the D23 starter set. So like I think not starter set, but gift set. And so I think by that time everybody was kind of like, what are we gonna do? And I think the fever was kind of brewing of like we knew New York had already they got like 200 and they sold out. So I think like that was the underpinning is that D23 was gonna have the D23 set, but how many? Where do you go? So that was like the common experience is, people trying to get it. So what was your guys's, did you go straight to the line or did you skip it? Or, cause I know you guys ended up getting the set, correct?
Yeah. So this was Friday. So luckily the Thursday night before we got a hotel, since our Texas trip for like the Fort Worth Challenge event got canceled for us due to the whole crowd strike thing.
Oh,
So
yeah.
our hotels were canceled, our flights canceled, but lucky for us, we were able to use that credit for D23 weekend the night before because we knew it was going to be an early morning. We didn't want to drive that specific morning. And I actually had work Friday. So that kind of contributed to our decision to go to Disneyland instead of D23 because I work remotely at around like 8. So I wanted to see if I could like get it before then. And D23 doors will open until 9 a.m. So we decided to go to Disneyland first. A few of our friends drove down from where we were from, and we all just lined up starting at like 4 a.m. And that one was a bit of like a jumbled mess. I guess for everyone it was a jumbled mess.
Yeah, that was like the common. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, we were all on the sidewalks because we weren't allowed on the Disney property. They kicked everyone out around like, I think 2 a.m. Some people were lining up since like midnight before. And we're like, we're not going to do that. We're just going to show up at like 4 and hope for the best. But I guess it kind of worked out because they got kicked out anyways. We were all just like hovering in the sidewalks. And then by 7 is when they started leading us towards like the security gates to do the checks. And then by 7, it was rush through those like metal detectors. And a lot of people got in trouble for running and everything like that. But I was pretty small. I was trying to weave through the crowd. I was trying to like, not be in the way of anyone who's just like booking it to the Pin Traders, which is in downtown Disney. And then we got in line around 7:30 and got product by 7:40. So I think Disneyland was the best bet for a majority of people. I heard D23 itself was kind of a jumbled mess. We weren't there because I had to go to work. So I'm wondering, hear your experience on that one.
Well, I felt silly because everyone's like, "Oh yeah, downtown Disney, they're done. They already got it. There's no line anymore." By the time that like people were in the thick of it, like D23's chaos or the set chaos was like I hear done. Because what time were you guys out of downtown Disney with the product in hand?
So I think it was like 7:40, and then we only went back because our friend started live streaming Ryan Miller in line with us.
Yeah,
and so we're like, we'll just walk back for a few minutes and say hi and see how he's doing before he jumps into the D23 madness.
Yeah, they were there. They were everywhere somehow. Like the fact that they were like in Disneyland and the downtown Disney and the convention. I'm like, oh my gosh! Like I assume they're still sleeping right now. Like I imagine they like went to sleep on like Monday and then they're like, I'll wake up next week.
Apparently not. So. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. After D23, they went to local game shops in SoCal, which I don't know how they had the energy for. We didn't even go to our local game shop times.
Yeah.
But I guess that's like the feel of the game, I guess, and sharing it with everybody around them. So Seems like they're having a great
That
time.
that made me really happy because, I mean, it is their job and I have a job and I like to go home. So the fact that they're like, they love what they do that much, or they're getting there before the convention and staying after, I'm like, wow. It was very impressive and exciting because it feels good to know that the people who make the game are as excited as we are. But I will say that, it didn't, I think it was the fact that this weekend I learned anytime two people stand next to each other, it becomes a line. So it was just like a truly fascinating sociological experiment. But I will say that I didn't want to get there super early because I'm like, I won't because I just can't. And I won't, I can't. It was a lot of that. So I got there. We left our hotel room at 7, got there at 7:15 because we just walked. And then we were in by 7:30. We waited for an hour and a half on this holding pen. And like we were like looking at the map and we knew Ravensburger was like in the middle of the expo floor and it's like big, like really big. And all of a sudden we realized that we were starting not in front of it. Like it's hard to explain, but basically the holding pin was on the side of D and it's Ravensburger was in B. So basically we're like, okay, we have to cut through D, C, and then somewhere in B is where we need to be. And everybody had the same plan and everybody just went as to that area. And then basically crowd control said, okay, well, this doesn't work. You can't just all hover around the booth. So they started saying, you guys are in line. You guys are not in line. So some people who had been there since like 4 a.m. were said, you're not in line because they were just standing in the place that didn't happen to be a line. I was trying to find the end of the line and I just kept walking and walking and walking. And as I'm walking, the line's growing. So it's kind of like at one point I went down a hall because I was following the line to get to the end of the hall and then it doubled back. And so then I had to walk back down the line and so it was crazy because I don't, it's hard because they said like, oh, we didn't know. I mean, I don't know if anybody can truly anticipate how intense TCG players are, but I think we are excited people about limited edition stuff. And for me, it was something where I was like, well, I might as well go to D23 because I paid for the ticket. And chances are, I mean, at D23, I only have to fight against D23 people versus downtown Disney. It's all of Southern California. So in my mind, I was being very smart. Um, and it was fun. I mean, it was a story and I'm telling it now, but we waited in line from 9. So basically we got to the line at like 9:15. I found the end and then we were in line until noon. And it was so much telephone, like the game of telephone where people are like, I heard it sold out. I heard they already ran out of promos. I heard this. And it was so funny because it was once again a sociological experiment of like people being like, guy over there just said they sold out. Well, I heard somebody said they have enough for this. And finally they said, we're going to give out wristbands. Although there was a video of Ryan Miller not jumping, makes it sound very athletic, but he like went on a stage with the Inkcaster and was like, this is not a problem. We're going to be okay. Which is very, very empowering, when you see someone with a staff speaking authoritatively. But we got our wristband at noon. They said, come back at 2. And I came back at 2. Well, I came back a little early because, you got to beat it. You got to beat it. The name of the game is you want to be the first in line. And so by 1:50, I had my pin, my promo, my 2 booster boxes. I bought Chronicles of Light. I bought 2 D23 sets. And then my dumb butt had to carry that around for 6 more hours. So that was lesson learned. Don't buy a bunch of cardboard at a convention, but what can you do? But it worked out. And so I think it's funny hearing everyone's stories in California because the moral of the California story was nobody should have been worried because it was available in downtown Disney until Sunday morning and available at the convention, I think, till the very, very, very end. So that I wish I could go back in time and be like,
Yeah,
we're gonna be okay.
but it's so
'cause
hard
my
to
goodness.
tell. I feel like until
I
you have
know.
it in your hand, like I will never feel like it's okay until I have it in my hand.
Well, yeah, in the story of New York, they said there was 500 people and 200 copies or
Yep.
something. And so like I was like, not me. I'm gonna get this.
Yeah, and I think it
So
just came from a lot of trauma from the past releases, like set
yes.
1, 2, and 3 was so limited. Because we did go down there for the set 2 release to downtown Disney, and we waited in the lines, got out super early, drove down there, and all they can give us was 2 booster packs each.
Oh,
And we were like,
yeah.
that was a lot of effort for $12 worth of product.
Because we
Yeah.
were aiming for the D100 set during that time, but they
Oh,
didn't release it until the day after. So all of our effort on Friday before we're trying to get it it was just given to people on Saturday who were
Yeah.
just like going to the parks, and
Yeah.
it was a tough pill to
And
swallow.
there's so much hindsight. Yeah, it's like whatever I do, it turns out it was the other thing I was supposed to
Mhm.
do. Like I'm like, okay, well, great. So, and I think yeah, if you live through set 1, 2, and 3, then yeah, that fear. Or even today, if I see like packs at Target, I'm like, well, I gotta pick up some. I don't, but I have this like scarcity
Yeah.
mindset where I'm like, well, if you see packs, you gotta buy them. And that might also be because I like to buy packs, so it's a little bit both. So, did you guys get to D23 at all on Friday? Like, did you go after work?
So we managed to go during our lunchtime just to like see what the hustle and bustle was about. Because we were getting the notifications on the app saying, "Oh, Ravensburger is shut down in like the first 30 minutes." So we weren't in any rush because we were like, "What are the chances? Like
Yeah.
we're gonna do anything?" But our hotel was only like a 3-minute walk away, so we were like, "Why not? Let's see."
Hmm.
We got in around lunchtime. We wanted to take a picture with the Incaster. Uh, it looked pretty cool. It was a prop.
Yeah.
And we got online for the photo booth, but then we got kicked out because it was wrapping around the booth, and then they gave us
Yeah.
wristbands. And then after that, I was like, okay, I guess it's the end of the lunch break. Let's go back, keep
That's so
working.
funny.
And then we started heading back when it was time for the panel because we were actually pretty lucky in
Yeah.
terms of getting that
The wristband is
promotion.
for a 3 p.m. callback time.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I think around 2 something we started going back to the Ravensburger booth.
Hmm.
And yeah, the line was forming already, so we're in that line and they finally let us through. And we thought the wristbands that we got were for the photo opportunity, but it turned out the wristband also gave you access to the shopping and the
Oh,
thing. So it let us go through, and then they gave us a pin and the promo, and then we bought like 2 more of the D23 anniversary sets and some packs, and I think a term, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's too many
it's
Lorcana.
all blur.
Yeah.
It's all cardboard blur
We
at
just
this
bought a
point.
lot of stuff and
You're there. It's like we had this like need to
to buy
Yes.
things.
buy.
Well, then, yeah, I was fortunate enough to be able to buy 2 extras. So, like, my friends, I was like, hey, I felt like Santa Claus, you
Yeah.
know, being able to help somebody be like, this is the greatest thing I've ever done for someone. You have no idea how hard I fought for this. Medium hard. Yeah. So you did get to go to the panel then.
Yeah. So for the
Yeah.
panel, we actually got pretty lucky in getting the RSVP.
That's
So
great. Yeah.
I think it was like a week before, something like that, where they announced which ones that you got. So we got Lorcana panel and the Marvel animation sneak peek. And then I think throughout the Discords and on Instagram channels, a lot of people said that they didn't get it. Like all of our friends didn't
Yes.
get it. Nobody in like our immediate like friend group got it. Or it was like, how did we were the only ones to get it? But we did, and we were super happy. So we lined up for that, and we were just so excited to be there. And so they sat us down in there, and then I think we were waiting for like maybe 30 minutes for all the other seats to fill in. And I saw you on Discord. You started like messaging that you got in, and you were like seated like
Well,
a few rows behind us.
yeah, I was texting like the Discord being like, how many seats are left? How many seats are left? Because like I'm in the line, it was moving like a little bit. And so I'm like, oh, let me get. But yeah, so I was very lucky. And then I got good seats too. Yeah. Cause you guys got there early and then like put me in these like random 2 seats. And I was like, this is really great. Everything came up me. Or like everything was coming up Katie after 2 p.m. Like the first 5 hours, not everything coming up Katie. After that, everything was great. So, but the panel was great. I really enjoyed it. It was so fun getting news like straight from the source.
Yeah.
Normally, like, you know, we get tweets and it's a retweet of a news story that happened an hour ago. And I'm like, no, I'm getting the news. I'm getting it like at the speed of sound. So what was the announcement you were most excited about?
For me, I think it was announcements of nationals and worlds and where they're going to be. I think my goal in Lorcana is to get that nationals invite. So essentially, I think it's like top 16 at a Lorcana challenge. So I did go to Atlanta and got essentially like in the top 128. So I got the Let It Go promo. So I was 1 game away
Okay.
from getting into day 2. And then we were supposed to go to Dallas Fort Worth. And I was super confident in like the deck choice I was bringing there. But unfortunately our like flight got canceled and everything happened. So we were pretty bummed that we couldn't go out there. So what we ended up doing that weekend was going to a set championship,
Mm.
and I took the deck that I wanted to bring to Fort Worth, and it did really well into the matchups I expected. And I was like, dang, this could have done so well in Fort Worth. I got an Ursula. I got like third place. Like I bricked in my last match, but besides that, like the deck was flying.
Yeah. Yeah, and the good news, I mean, there's still Toronto and Seattle
We're going to
and
Vegas.
Vegas.
We're going to Vegas.
Okay, Vegas. Okay. I'm kind of sad I'm not going to Vegas. I was feeling very fiscally conservative after Dallas because I was like, okay, you don't need to go to another one. And then the ticket sold out in 2 seconds. I instantly regretted it. I was like, I'm stupid. I should have gone. But the DLCs are very fun. As you can attest to. So yeah, I hope you get invited. Even if I'm not invited, I'll probably still show up
Yeah,
because
same here.
I'll take any excuse to go to Disney World
Right.
or Disneyland. Have you been to Disney World? Because I know that's a California thing where people are like, I've never been to Disney World.
I've been once for like essentially a work trip, so it wasn't really like fun and happy times there. It was more like, oh, we're here because for business, essentially.
Yeah.
You were there with your coworkers, so you kind of act work still.
Yeah, and pretend like you're not like super jazzed.
Yeah.
And be like, oh yeah, we can go there, I guess. And you're like, please, I want to go.
Right. You've been
Yeah,
one, right?
I've been, but it was actually also for work. Now
Oh
that I
gosh,
think about
okay. You
it.
guys are hardworking Disney fans.
Yeah, now I think about it, yeah, it was only for work. We got one day of like park fun, so there was that. I didn't. It was during work, so I didn't get to do the drink around the world around Epcot. Which I think it's a
Yeah, probably
highlight
smart.
for everybody. That goes to Disney World. But we're hoping to go back. Now we have a reason with worlds, so
I know.
hopefully we
Yeah,
get
and it's
there.
so fun. Disney World is the best for like I think Disneyland is the better park because Disneyland is just so perfect and classic and you can spend a great day there. But Disney World's like a great vacation. You just like you're in a bubble. You forget reality. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited to just spew all my Disney knowledge at the TCG community as they start to plan their trips. So my biggest announcement I'm excited for, I think, is Chippendale. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
It's the chip of the iceberg that there'll be more Chippendale. So it's just crazy that that's been set 5 and there's not
Yeah.
a single one.
I've been waiting for
Wait.
them. They're like my favorite characters out of like the classic
Yeah.
group. And I've been waiting because I have, or I guess my deck box is right here, but my deck box has like always the two cards that like kind of go together. And I'm
Yeah.
waiting till there's Chip and down there. And that's like
The dream.
the dream of having them there. Hopefully they're like a bit stronger, like legendaries, and look really cool.
Yeah.
With the new foiling that they have for set 5, or like
Oh,
that
that's
new
so pretty.
layer of I don't know what it's called. It's not foil, but like it's like a different.
Shiny?
Yeah,
Yeah. It's matte and shiny together. I
yeah.
don't know.
So I'm excited for that one. I think that's my highlight as well.
I am deeply hoping that, yeah, there's just more Chippendale. But I kind of, the panel, I wish there was a Q&A because I would have been like, so what's going on? We had 40 Jafars and no Chippendales. What was that about? Was it because, so I would ask and then they'd probably pull me from the panel and be like, no more questions, ma'am. It's a highly guarded secret, but I do need to know because there are a lot of Jafars and Beasts. But I think another highlight for me was getting to actually interact with creators and developers and employees and artists. One thing that super blew my mind as I was waiting to get back in line, I was talking to like the line bouncer and I was like, oh, they're probably like somebody, because a lot of the people when you talk to them, they're like, oh, I'm like a contractor and conventions hire me and I come out. But the people who were staffing the Ravensburger booth were like Ravensburger employees, to the point where I was talking to one person and she's like, oh, I'm going to take your picture. Because I want to show it to the artist of Pooh Honey Wizard. And I said, that's nice of you, but I mean, do you work with them? Do you know them? And she's like, oh, yeah, I mean, I'm an artist too. And I'm like, oh, you're an art. Do you do art for the game? She's like, nah, I mean, you wouldn't really know. It's not a big thing. And I was like, okay. And so later someone posted something and it was Julia Riva, who has done many cards that people know, like Peter Pan's Shadow, Olaf, Genie on the Job, and she was just like managing the booth
Just
as like a
casually.
line bouncer. And
Yeah, like, oh, you
and then,
don't
yeah.
know me. You don't know my art. Like, what are you
Well,
talking
like,
about? We love your art. Peter Pan, Shadow, and Foil. Oh my gosh, one of my favorite
I
cards.
know, and I told her, I was like, one time I was showing someone my deck list, and they said, wait, how do you decide between Minnie Always Classy and Olaf? And I said, well, you just pick Olaf because he's, look at it.
Yeah.
So I was like, and that's because of you, your card. So it was just really cool that the people working there were like hands-on, real deal Ravensburger employees. Like I think at any time you went to the booth, Steve, Shane, or Ryan were just milling about, even like eating their lunch there. Like they're like eating their meals there to the point where they just wanted to be there. So like insane, unexpected on my part. I didn't think they'd, I don't know. That'd be hard to not be off the clock for the entire time. Did you get to interact with any surprises that were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got to meet them?
Yeah. So my favorite part, which is like one of my goals at D23, was also to do the artist signings. So I was able to get Nicholas Cole, Aubrey Archer, and Alice Pisoni to sign one of their mats. So I got my championship Stitch mat signed by Nick, the Rapunzel mat signed by Aubrey Archer, and then the Beast mat signed by Alice. And
So
then
cool.
after that, we walked over back to the Ravensburger booth and we saw that Ryan and
Right.
Steve
Yeah.
were doing the photo op in the little illuminary section. And they were also doing signings too for whatever people wanted to get signed. So like, oh crap, I'm gonna go get my mat signed with those two. So I wanted to get like a collection of signatures on my Stitch mat. So while we were in line, Shane just casually passes by and he's like, hey, what's up? And then I'm getting my mat signed. He's like, oh, cool. And I was like, can you sign my mat too? He's like, yeah, sure. And then he puts his signature. He's like, I think Ryan and Steve are doing their signatures up there too. And I was like, that's sick. So we finally get to
So
the,
you're just checking it off.
yeah, we finally get to the front of the line. And then I have a little chat with Steve and Ryan, really thanking them for the game and like how much passion and creativity they put into their work. And I was like, I'd be really honored if you guys could sign my mat. And they're like, I'm so sorry. We just got told that we can't be doing signings anymore. But if you find us in the Las Vegas Lorcana Challenge, we'll be happy to sign your mat. And I was like, all right, that's cool with me. We'll take a picture anyway. So having that interaction was just like really nice. Just having them all just like casually hang around and having fun with everybody that walks by.
And you could sense that they really wanted to sign, but they just weren't allowed to. But like they just wanted to like talk to everyone, like, sign as much cards and like talk about the game for like if they could hours, honestly. It was just a
Yeah,
great time.
and it's funny because you mentioned, so that was that Sunday or Saturday that this
Sunday.
happened?
Yeah, Sunday.
Yeah, and it's on Sunday. So it's funny that you mentioned that because like I ran into Ryan. I was like, hey, Ryan, I just want to say thank you. And I saw him sign a card. I was like, are you able to sign this? He's like, yeah. And as he was signing it, someone's like, stop it. So it's just funny that he's like, he just wanted to interact with as many fans as possible. And Disney's like, can you behave?
Yeah.
And he was like, well, these are my fans. So I was super, it felt great. It felt so cool. Someone, we were like excited to be seeing him and someone was like, who is that? I'm like, I didn't want to blow his cover. So I was like, oh, it's a guy. And the guy in front of me turned around and said, that is Ryan Miller, co-creator of the game Lorcana. I was like, well, I was trying to be chill about it. But so the person behind me probably thought I was a poser. And I'm like, no, I know who that is. But yeah, they were great. So getting to see the artist was so cool because the art of Lorcana, I love it. I mean, I think anybody who is a Disney fan, I have like Disney fan art, or not fan art, but like art behind me because it's, I think, you
got this too.
Yeah.
Like, of course.
I get overwhelmed and I left mine. And I even talked to Nicholas Cole on Sunday and said, fun thing, I left my signature card. He's like, oh yeah, we had an extra one. I was like, this Dumbo left hers. So, who knows where that ended up, but I don't have it, which is fine. I got the card signed. I told my sister, I was like, it's probably good because if I had that, I'd feel very like stressed out by this piece of cardboard and what to do with it. And so maybe I freed myself from that stress of knowing what to do with that piece of cardboard, but it was very cool. It was very cool. And that one I didn't get a reservation for, but they got people in. They got people into lots of stuff. So,
that reservation line, or we didn't even get a reservation. So I think we waited in line for like well over an hour.
Yeah.
Because there's like multiple lines to get into a line,
Yes.
to get into a line, to get into a standby queue for the sightings.
Exactly.
We
Yeah.
spent like the last like 2 hours of our D23 trying to do that.
Yeah.
That was funny, yeah, and I was like, "Well, what's this a line for?" Like, "Well, this is the line to get into the lines for anybody." So it
Hmm.
wasn't like you could even get into the line, it was a line, yeah, like you said, a line for the line to sort you for the line,
Yeah,
and you're like, "Sure, that's what I'm here for." But that's good, now you have a goal for Vegas, is to be like, "I'm gonna find you," and
actually,
not in a menacing way.
we did find them outside of D23.
Oh,
So
yeah, they were wandering the game stores,
yeah,
right?
so there's another kind of Instagrammer. He goes by Lorcana Man. I guess he has a connection to Steve Warner. I think they like worked together at some point, or
Mhm.
they had some sort of acquaintance. But essentially, he was bringing them around to game stores, and he kind of, and we know Lorcana Man personally, all being in like SoCal and like being close to each other.
Mhm.
He told us, "Oh, you guys should show up at this place at this time, and there's a surprise for you." So we did, and he brought in Steve Warner and Ryan Miller, and he
That's it's
essentially
incredible.
hosted a mini meetup of like a small group of like maybe 10ish people, right? And they brought booster boxes to do pack rush, like a little mini pack rush event. Yeah, so I met up with
Yeah.
them and was like, "Thank you guys for coming out and like like your dedication to the game and to the local communities is like so cool." And I know you guys told me to find you guys in Vegas, but I found you guys here now. And then I showed them my map, and they're like, "Well, we can call this place Vegas," and they signed the map.
Yeah.
So I have my map right here. Signed.
Oh, wow, so you got it in, like, a top loader,
Yep.
like, the a me that's good. I
So
was wondering,
Steve,
like,
Nick, Shane, and Ryan.
that is so cool. I love that so much.
So happy.
Are you ever gonna play with it again, or now is that art?
I think if I have an opportunity to get another signature from maybe like even Rochelle or other people
Mhm.
from Ravensburger, I'll definitely bring them out and try to get their signatures on it too. But I probably won't
Yeah,
play on it just because like, I'm gonna like smudge it with my elbow grease or something.
yeah, I know. After I got my card signed, I was, like, holding it like a little tiny child. I was like, "What do I do? Because 'Cause I'm so scared I'll smear it." But they were so generous with their time. I'm glad you finished that story for me because on my side, I was like, "Did this man kidnap Steve and Ryan?" Because on Instagram, he was like, "They're in my car," and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Did he coerce them? Does he?" So it's good to know that there was friendship before
Mhm.
he got in the car, or it wasn't like, "I'm your Uber driver," and then like drove him to an LGS. So it's good it wasn't a caper and it
Yeah.
was a nice thing. But yeah, I think it's super great that they're so willing to do that. I met up with them. I met up with them. We had no. There was an event on Friday night where they showed up and did the same thing. They brought booster packs and like this is a day that like everything was at 3, 4 in the morning.
Mhm.
So I'm like, how are you standing? And the answer is Disney Med. So from Tuesday to the end of the event, what was your favorite part of it?
Trying to think that I think
That's
the
hard.
whole weekend was just like a
I
blur
know,
of
right?
fun and stress. But I guess for me, outside of just like talking to everybody at Ravensburger and like getting to know them and seeing how they created the game that we all love, I think one of my highlights is I think it was on Sunday, waiting for the signature signing. I was like, oh, let's go get like 3 booster packs each. And when I opened 2 out of 3 of my booster packs, 2 of them had enchanteds in it. And I thought that was
That
like
is
unheard of. Like, I don't even know how that's even possible because we got it from the
it's
same
very unlikely.
person. Yeah. And so I got enchanted Scar in the first pack.
Oh,
Second pack, I didn't get anything, and then I got Vanellope one sweets.
that's amazing.
So I think
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
these are my highlights because I was like, what other
I
thing could
was
possibly happen this
leaving
weekend
it
that
because
could
like
like
Yeah.
cherry on top, kind of almost,
yeah,
where I'm like,
because he opened the first one. I was like, "There's no way you just got it enchanted." So I like pull up my phone to like record her. She's like, "It's scars." Like that's insane. And then we were just like off that high, and then she puts away her scar, and then I start trying to open up my packs, and she's like, "No way!" And I was like, "You're joking. You're like you're pulling my leg. You're not. There's no way you got another one." And then she like lifts it up a bit. You can see like the little outline
Yeah.
of the channel. Was like, "There's no way you just got 2 enchanters right now." Like I'm like fuming. Like, how come one of those were in my pack?
like out of the
Well,
same.
the
It's
benefit of being a couple, the Lorcana duo can
Mhm.
share, But no, I I had a similar thing where I bought 2 booster boxes and I got an enchanted in each box. I'm like, "What's happening?" I'm so scared that something terrible is gonna happen this week
I
because
feel like it's like
everything.
downhill from us for us.
Yeah, it can't
Similar
be.
to you
It's
thing.
that's exactly because I'm like 2 booster box because that's. I mean, yours is a lot better. 3 packs, 2 boost or 2 enchanteds, but 2 boxes, 2 boosters is still kind of like, what's going on, guys? I think that my highlight was definitely Tuesday was a big highlight because it's so fun to like. It's one part to be a part of a community as a consumer, but it was really cool to be part of the community as like an ambassador. I mean,
Mm.
it was unofficial, but being somebody that gets to be like, look, I love this, and getting to get other people to love it, that was exciting to do. And exciting because people are coming to us to learn, which makes it a little easier than when I go up to my friends and family and say, hey, we're playing this game. So it was just a cool opportunity. And I think that that doesn't technically count. But my other highlight was getting to meet people. Gosh, that's so cool. So, Patrick, your low light was obviously watching someone pull 2 enchantments in front of you.
Yeah.
Did you have a highlight outside of that?
I think just being at D23 was just like a surreal experience, especially since we're SoCal based and a lot of our friends are SoCal based and other players that play with us are SoCal based. It felt like just going in and seeing so many people that you know and interact with through this game. Um, we played at like a bunch of set champs for the Ursula and the Stitch, and we went in and like a lot of people like recognize us or we recognize them through Lorcana, and we just come in and talk about it, and then we'll like tell each other stories like how we're doing with the game or what we're plans with Shimmering Skies, or when we might see each other again, like whether that's like at Vegas or another set champ or at our local game stores. I think just interacting with the community is like super cool. Monica had this fun couple people that she taught at the Tuesday event come up to her and be like, thank you for showing us the game, and then they gave her like a little gift, like little figurines. I was like, that's so sweet.
Yeah, and Patrick wasn't there when it was happening, but they didn't forget him also. So they're like, where's your fiance? Like, we want to give him like this little beast figure. And I was like, okay, I'll give it to him. But yeah, they were just like super hyped to see us, and that community is so great. And they're just gonna
Yeah.
go to a local game shop with them this week, I think. They messaged us on Instagram saying they're gonna go soon.
Yeah, and just seeing that the game itself is like so popular and growing so much. I know it was kind of hectic for Disney and Ravensburger to handle the lines and the crowds, but for me, it kind of is. There's like the silver lining behind it that the game is like getting big and a lot of people are interested in it, and it's the game that Monica and I love, and it's just like growing and getting into the hands of other people, and this whole community just like rising up.
Yeah. And it's local and global. Like, it's
Yeah.
so cool that, yeah, you go to a place, like, even I'm from Colorado and I saw people and I'm like, hey. So it's cool that it's such a big and small. It feels small in the sense that we know each other, and then it's big because it keeps growing. I will say there's one embarrassing moment where I was doing on Tuesday night, we were doing our little volunteering thing, and I knew like roughly who was going to be there just from like the messages. And I was making some chit chat, and I was like, "Oh, have you been to the person I was talking to? Have you been to any of the challenges?" They're like, "Yeah, I have." I was like, "Oh, did you have fun?" And then like the person's like, "Yeah, you had fun. You got in the top 16 and top 32." And it was Kevin from the Lorcana Goons. And this is why before you go to any event, pull up flashcards and like look, because my goodness, I was like, "Okay, so you have been." So I'm very so I felt but he's so nice. He was like, "Oh yeah." I mean, he didn't say, "Yeah, I place." He was like, "Oh yeah." And so everyone is just so nice. Even the really good players are as nice and humble as somebody like me. Well, not that I'm not humble. I'm very proud of finishing at 800th place. Um, so that was pretty funny, but it was so cool. Then I was thinking about how cool it is that there were people at that Learn to Play event learning from Kevin of the Lorcana
Yeah.
Goons and getting like
Yeah.
secret
That was kind
pro
of like my
coaching.
highlight too, like just meeting the other creators in the space. So like Kevin from like Goons and Rebecca and
Yeah.
Citizens of Lorcana and Eric Switzer and everybody that was at D23 is like such a cool like coming together of people that you see online a lot,
Yeah.
and like putting like faces to the names or to the usernames that you see. It was really nice.
Yeah. So next time I'm gonna make flashcards because yeah, I'm not gonna do that again. But He was really nice. So it's not a him thing, it's a me thing. But I will say, I mean, it was a big weekend overall. Was there any other highlights that you had of D23 outside of the Lorcana sphere?
Yeah, so outside of Lorcana, we're still like Disney and Marvel fans. So we
Yeah.
went through that TVA experience thing. So it's kind of like little maze and like pop up. And they have the little portal doors open up to different universes that you can look in. And there's little stages of like, I think Daredevil and Wolverine and Deadpool and like the Avengers. That was cool. And then we also did the Marvel animation sneak peek. So
Yeah.
I haven't been really following the animation side, but seeing that kind of like made me really excited for like the new Spider-Man animations and the X-Men 97 season 2. Anything else?
You still need to watch season 1. I think you catch up. But
It's always good to have something in the pipeline to watch. You
Mhm.
never want to watch everything, you know.
yeah, but for me, I guess another highlight was I really enjoy collecting pins, and it was a very expensive weekend for us.
Yeah, I checked my bank account today. I avoided it for a few days, but it was sad. I shouldn't have done that. It was really easy to spend money there. Between Lorcana and pins, I'm like, wow, I
There
really
goes
had
all our
fun.
money.
Right? But it's tied up in some cool stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Did you get any good pins?
We did. We got so Friday was just like all Arcana dedicated.
Yes.
So we got the virtual queue with the 30th group. So we were mainly aiming for the Robin Hood Adorbs, but it sold out right
Mhm.
before we got in. And then we were like, okay,
Yeah.
we'll try it Saturday, Sunday. And I think for Saturday and Sunday, I did really well in the virtual queue. For Saturday, I think I got group 4, and then Sunday I got group 2, which
That's crazy.
which I think really insane to get. And I'm convinced it's because we went home. We weren't like in the network where everyone's awake at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
trying to like press the button. We were like an hour away. So I feel like we got right through with our internet
Yeah, right through the
connection.
traffic of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got really lucky. So we got a lot of Mickey's and Glendale pins or both days. And being in SoCal, like all of our friends are also heavy pin collectors or like being Disney fans. So we were happy to like kind of feel like Santa Claus. It's
Yeah.
like I could
That's
get you that
coming
pin
home.
if you want it. And so yeah, our bank accounts are not too happy with us right now.
Yeah, just the
I know,
upfront
yeah.
cost of the pins is like insane. I was like, I'm really spending like $1,000 on pins right now. But like, most of it's gonna go to other people, so they'll pay us back.
But
But
yeah,
yeah, but just seeing that price tag was insane. And the nice thing about having
Yeah.
2 of us is like we always will get the pins that we want because we'll get one copy for ourselves and the other copy can go to like a friend.
yeah. So
You could tell there was lots of like factions. Because like I would be around there, would be people like networking. I'm like, I don't have any connections. So I gotta get in that's my goal, is to get in the SoCal pin community, because there was like a secret side
Yeah,
of
we got some
like
let
pins
us
for
people
you.
and stuff.
know.
Because
Yeah.
like I saw you
Oh
wanted to
yeah.
get some of the like these guys.
Oh my God. I know. I
Yeah.
wanted to buy one bag and I
We
bought
bought
3.
like
I don't know.
5 bags, and I think they were all in the same from the same batch. Because out of 3 of those bags, I think 4 of them were like duplicates across all of
That
them.
happened to me and my
And I was like,
sister. That should be illegal.
yeah, why did this happen? So now we have a whole bunch of Chicken Littles, Pumbas, and Mikos.
No more.
Perfect. Wow.
Sadly, that's the only one we were looking for, and that's the one we don't have.
Yeah. So we need Mushu
Yeah.
and more to complete that set.
I'll check. I think I might have a Mushu. We'll see. But man, yeah, the pins got me good. Something about too, like once you get in the queue, then you're like, well, I gotta get something. I don't know.
Right?
Sunk cost fallacy is really
Yeah.
high at D23. Well, the big question that I have, that I've been ruminating all week for myself, that I truly can't decide is, was this your first D23 actually? So that's my sub question.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you want to go again after this 3-day of madness?
I'll let you answer.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think for us, we definitely would, just because I know it's a kind of a big barrier of entry for a lot of people, especially if you're flying in and you got to have a hotel. For us, it's not that hard for us to get back into D23, especially we live
Mhm.
just an hour away. So we can go back home whenever we want. And if we're not feeling it that day, like we can just completely skip it. I was
Yeah.
contemplating doing that, but she kept getting the early pinky, so I was like, oh, well, we gotta go.
She's like, get up. We
Yeah,
gotta go.
just because we are usually in Anaheim anyway, every other weekend for Disneyland or California Adventure or whatever it is. It's kind of like just another weekend almost, but times 10, which is fine. Like I got sick from it.
I know. You're like, all these great things happen. And then like it was at the expense of your
Yeah,
personal well-being.
yeah.
So unfortunately now we know the
But
downside.
I think we had such a good experience that we definitely do it again.
Yeah.
Especially just because like Ryan Miller, Steve Warner there just made the experience just so much more pleasurable. Just being around their energy around that
Yeah.
booth.
Mhm.
Like I think we spent most of our time around the Ravensburger booth and the pin trading areas too.
Yeah.
So just that, like we didn't go to too many panels even. It was mostly like Lorcana focused, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah. The vibes were so good around because
Mhm.
you'd always run into somebody you know.
Yeah.
And it's just so fun being around it and seeing other people be like, I got it. And
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, for you.
Yeah, I let him answer first since he felt sick after. I was like, I don't know if that will deter you
Yeah.
from
You're
it.
like, well, I don't want to speak. Yeah.
No.
Maybe.
But for
But
me,
yeah.
I had a great time. I'm a morning person, so I don't think I felt the burn of like the 4 a.m. because at 4 a.m. I'm like, yeah, we got coffee, we're ready to go. And
Yeah.
so for me, D23 was just like a fun experience all around. Although I hope there'll be some improvements for next year, whether it's virtual queue or like wristbands from the beginning for Ravensburger, or hopefully we
Yeah.
don't just get mobbed with like a large group of people. Happy for the excitement for the game, but also concerned about everyone else's well-being.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
on Sunday, after 2 p.m. it was like a free-for-all. Like you could go to any pin store,
Yeah.
you could go to Ravensburger without wristbands or anything, no one's gonna stop you. And that was the first time we experienced that mob because we went there Friday. And it was like shoulder to shoulders. There was a stroller in front of me, and I was like concerned of the little baby. Luckily, Ravensburger employees pulled out all younger kids' strollers first, so they got priority, obviously, as they should. But like just
Yeah.
being in like everything just merging together at like 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Hopefully next year it's like a little bit more different. Hopefully Ravensburger gets like a bigger booth, kind of like maybe like Nat Geo's booth or like Avatar. I feel like they needed like that queue space upcoming years.
And play space.
Yeah.
And play space. I wish we had more tournaments
Yeah.
or like
I
gameplay.
know. I was hoping for some side events too,
Mhm.
because I was like, oh, maybe it'll be like Gen Con where they have like little things going
Yeah.
on. But it makes sense because they don't have space. But obviously, there are lots of people willing to do it. I will say that, I was in the line for one of the pin stores, the Walt Disney Company pin store. And I got in at 1:00, and then at 2:00, I heard like actual screams, like, like no, and like then like this. I was like, what is this? So that energy, not a super big fan. That's scary. But I will say, like, with the caveat of like, those moments of like crowd logistics, I had so much fun.
Mhm.
I wouldn't go back next weekend. But 2 years I think is good. I don't know if there is science behind why they do it every 2 years. Probably because they don't. If they did it every year, it'd be hard to come up with new announcements that are like worth it from a business perspective, but from a personal perspective, I'm like, yeah, in 2 years, I think I'll be ready to go again. And now I feel seasoned. Now I feel like I get it.
Mhm.
I know like the rules and like I feel better because I think I didn't know what to expect. And now I'm a pro, basically. I mean, not a pro because I didn't really get everything.
Yeah.
I got all my Lorcana stuff done.
Yeah.
That's all checked. But the other stuff was hard because it was hard to do everything. Like the TVA thing you were talking about that. I was like, that sounds so cool. I didn't do that.
Yeah.
I did get catfished by the Net Geo Dome. I don't know if you guys did that, but they're like, the Hexadome. And they're like, we're not going to tell you what it is. Did you do it?
No.
No. But we saw your
But it
vlog.
sounded so cool. Yeah, they catfished me. It was just like a projector. And there was like, it was cool. But I was like, you did that on purpose. So I have a little beef with Net Geo. I still like them. They're a good company. But... And there's a penguin pin. So honestly, okay, I'm happy again. I forgot. I got a pin. So, well, I will release you into your evening. And so Patrick can heal and you can maybe set up like a plastic barrier and be like, please don't breathe near me. But it's too late probably for you,
She's
unfortunately.
infected.
I know it's right. But I can't thank you enough for being on my show, especially because we're still recovering from, just the exhaustion of it all. So I loved getting to talk about our D23 experience. And I love meeting to meet you guys. Like I said, when I like would talk to you guys, I'm like, you guys are so calm. Like it was just like an infectious calmness. I'm glad I got infected by the calmness and not
The cold.
the cooties.
I think
Yeah.
you should have seen me the week before. It was just all
Okay.
stress. I was watching all the YouTube videos, all the vlogs of
Okay.
D23.
So that's why you practice. You're like, I'm not stressed because I'm ready for this.
I was like hunting down answers on Reddit. Oh, so scared.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That was the other thing. I mean, the answers, I mean, even up until the day of, we had no answers on something. So yeah, I guess that is like hopefully next time answers are more readily available because it was like, I don't know, I show up and good luck. But yes, I thank you so much. I'm so glad you guys are in the community. Now you guys are gaming more in the content creation space, which leads me into where can people find and follow you on your Lorcana journey.
For us, we only have Instagram right now, and we're at LorcanaDuo. I'm gonna see a few more D23 content there soon once Patrick has recovered.
Yes.
But and yeah, you'll just find us all over Lorcana journey will continue.
That's good. I'm glad to see it because now I'm like, well, I gotta watch Patrick's training montage
Oh,
to
yeah.
get to the tippy top after you get done sleeping. So, well, I definitely give it a follow. I like your guys' content because it's fun. And I love the couple aspect too because I think it's funny. They even mentioned in the panel that Lorcana is a game where people are convincing their partners to be like, huh? And so you guys are a perfect example of that. So thank you again. Thank you for our listeners for joining us on another episode of the Lore Keepers Inn. If there's anything you want to hear me talk about, feel free to email me, contact@thelorekeepersin.com, or reach me on Twitter or Instagram, which will be linked in the description below. As always, thank you for hanging out with me today. I'm always happy to have you stop by the inn, no matter where your journey takes you. And if you don't know where to find us, just take the second start of the right exit and head straight on through Motor.